This is Patmos, a rocky, barren strip of land in the Aegean Sea. In the late 1st century, a man named John was exiled here, banished for his testimony. He is entirely isolated. For years, he had been a leading voice for a network of early Christian churches across Asia Minor, but now miles of ocean separate him from the people he once guided. On one particular Sunday, John notes that he enters a state he calls in the Spirit. According to the historical notes, this is a trance-like state of spiritual exaltation, a deep cognitive shift away from his physical surroundings. The silence of his meditation is shattered by a sound wave from behind, a voice with the roaring frequency of a war trumpet. This celestial authority tears into physical human history with a violent, undeniable frequency. John turns toward the sound and is met by the blinding presence of an entity standing among 7 golden lampstands. The physical details are difficult for a human to process. The figure's head and hair radiate an unnatural whiteness, described by the text as looking like snow or wool. The figure's gaze is a terrifying presence, eyes that burn as an active, piercing, fiery flame. The voice carries the deafening volume of a massive waterfall, roaring with a chaotic, violent, and inescapable power. In its right hand, the entity holds 7 literal stars, signaling absolute cosmic and administrative control over the universe. Extending directly from its mouth is a sharp, double-edged sword, the being's primary offensive weapon. This anatomy, the blinding light, the incinerating gaze, and the lethal speech, identifies the figure as the resurrected, terrifying sovereign of the cosmos. The being identifies itself as the Alpha and the Omega, a title representing God's absolute dominance over the beginning and the end of all time. Confronted with this unfiltered majesty, the human nervous system simply shuts down. John's biology cannot process the raw data rate of this divine glory. He suffers a total physical collapse, dropping at the entity's feet like a corpse. Direct encounters with ultimate truth are violently destructive events for frail human biology. The restoration begins with a physical touch. The entity places its right hand on the paralyzed prophet and commands him not to fear. The figure then asserts its ultimate jurisdiction over reality, declaring that it holds the literal keys to death and Hades. John is ordered to manually document everything he sees and distribute it to specific factions on the mainland. The message targets 7 cities in Asia Minor: Ephesus, Smyrna, Pergamum, Thyatira, Sardis, Philadelphia, and Laodicea, real geographic locations operating under extreme pressure. The message travels from absolute sovereignty through a traumatized conduit directly into active geopolitical conflicts. The text addresses these churches through a divine performance review. The sovereign knows their works, their endurance, and their specific failures. The diagnostics are severe. The entity addresses the faction in Sardis as spiritually dead, despite their public reputation for being alive. They're issued an ultimatum: repent and return to their first works, or the entity will personally arrive to remove their lampstand from its place. These threats are balanced by an ultimate promise to the one who conquers, the right to eat from the tree of life and bypass the second death. These 7 letters are final celestial warnings, issued just before the door to the heavenly throne room is torn open, unleashing absolute cosmic upheaval. John is confined to the rocky, barren island of Patmos. He is a man in exile, cut off from his community because of his adherence to the Word of God. His physical isolation is suddenly shattered. A voice like a trumpet call commands his attention, and he sees a door standing open in the sky, leading into a reality far beyond his island prison. Stepping through, he is met by a sensory assault of flashes of lightning, roaring thunder, and a vast, shimmering sea of glass that stretches out before a central throne. This throne is encircled by a cosmic council, 24 seated elders wearing golden crowns, and 4 6-winged creatures covered in eyes, chanting a rhythmic, sleepless liturgy. The throne room operates on a scale that renders earthly authority meaningless. It is a domain of absolute, eternal order, existing entirely beyond the reach of human corruption. In the right hand of the seated figure is a scroll, covered in writing on both sides, but locked away behind 7 distinct wax seals. A powerful angel issues a challenge that echoes to the ends of the universe, demanding to know if anyone is worthy to break the seals and open the scroll. The challenge is met with total silence. Not a single being in heaven or on the earth or in the depths below steps forward to claim the scroll. John begins to weep bitterly. His grief is loud and uncontrolled, filling the silence of the throne room. Without a worthy figure to open the scroll, the universe's story cannot reach its conclusion. Destiny is stalled, and the promise of ultimate justice remains locked away. One of the elders stops John mid-sob, telling him a victor has finally emerged. He announces him as the Lion of the tribe of Judah and the Root of David. These titles evoke the image of a militant, Davidic conqueror, a warrior king who uses his power to crush his enemies. But when John turns to see this lion, he finds a lamb. The expectation was a predator. The reality is a prey animal. He is looking for a king defined by force, but finds one defined by his scars. The lamb is visibly wounded, bearing the marks of a violent slaughter. It stands in the center of the throne room as a living testament to sacrifice. The lamb possesses 7 horns, a symbol of unchecked strength. In this vision shorthand, 7 represents totality. It also has 7 eyes, representing an all-seeing reach, and omniscience extending into every corner of the earth. This bloodied lamb walks directly to the throne, bypassing the cosmic council to take the scroll from the right hand of God. When the lamb takes the scroll, the entire hierarchy of the room shifts. How does a slaughtered animal hold this authority? The answer lies in the immediate reaction of the beings surrounding it. As the lamb grasps the scroll, the terrifying creatures and the 24 elders instantly collapse to the floor in an act of total worship. The elders hold up golden bowls of incense. These are the prayers of the saints, the long-accumulated pleas of humanity for justice and restoration. They begin to sing a new song, one that explicitly redefines the nature of worthiness in this heavenly court. They proclaim the Lamb is worthy because he was killed, and because his blood purchased people for God from every language and nation on the planet. The song expands as millions of angels join the chorus, creating a universe-wide consensus that confirms this new order of authority. The universe's ultimate destiny is governed not by the one capable of inflicting the most violence, but by the one who willingly endured it. Imagine looking up and the sky simply tears open. A physical door stands unlatched in the upper atmosphere. A voice, loud and resonant as a trumpet, issues a single command: come up here. Inside, the environment shifts to raw elemental force. Continuous thunder and jagged lightning pulse from a massive throne at the center of the storm. This image shows the perimeter of that throne. A brilliant, glowing green rainbow, like an emerald, cuts through the storm. It hovers over an expanse that looks like a sea of glass, perfectly smooth and clear as ice, reflecting every strike of lightning. This elemental storm marks the absolute center of universal authority. We are looking at the engine room of existence, where every flash of lightning is a coordinated transmission of power. Surrounding this center of power is an outer ring of defense. 24 thrones sit in a circle, occupied by elders dressed in blinding white. Over and over, they remove heavy golden frowns from their heads and cast them to the floor. Inside that circle stands something far stranger. 4 massive living creatures guard the throne directly. They wear the faces of a lion, an ox, a man, and an eagle in mid-flight. Their bodies are entirely covered, front and back, with unblinking eyes. These entities never sleep. Day and night, they generate a perpetual, deafening chant, declaring the absolute holiness and eternal power of whoever sits on the central throne. Yet for all their intimidating, alien anatomy, their posture is entirely submissive. The moment they vocalize their praise, these cosmic monsters throw themselves flat on the ground. If creatures of this magnitude immediately collapse in reverence, the entity at the absolute center of this array must wield a level of power that dwarfs them entirely. All of this terrifying pageantry surrounds a single silent object. In the right hand of the figure on the throne rests a scroll packed with writing on both the inside and the outside. As you can see in this rendering, the scroll is completely inaccessible. It is bound shut by 7 heavy wax seals. In the logic of this vision, this document contains the unalterable destiny of the universe. A powerful angel steps forward and issues a challenge that echoes across creation. Who is worthy to open the scroll and break its seals? A search begins. They scan heaven, they scan the earth, they search the underworld. The result is absolute, deafening silence. Not a single entity steps forward. The stakes become immediately clear. If that scroll stays closed, human history has no resolution. Every act of injustice remains unpunished, and the promised future is permanently stalled. Standing in the middle of this massive vacuum of power is John, a human observer. He watches the silence stretch on, realizing what it means. He falls to his knees and begins to weep violently. Out of all the cosmic beings and human legends, absolutely no one possesses the moral authority required to unlock the future. The silence suggests a future without a resolution. Without a worthy candidate to open the scroll, the cycle of human suffering remains permanently uncurbed. One of the elders approaches the weeping prophet to interrupt his despair. He tells him to stop crying, announcing that the Lion of the tribe of Judah has conquered and holds the right to open the scroll. You naturally expect a massive, roaring predator to step into the center of the room, a creature built to tear those wax seals apart through sheer brute force. John turns to look, but he doesn't see a lion. He sees a lamb. Look closely at this figure. The lamb is standing upright, fully alive, yet it bears the fresh, gruesome wounds of a literal slaughter. It also carries bizarre physical traits, 7 horns and 7 eyes, symbols of perfect power and perfect knowledge. These radiate authority, contrasting sharply against the fatal wounds marking its body. By standing upright while bearing the wounds of a slaughter, the lamb demonstrates that in this throne room, sacrifice has been converted into sovereignty. The victim has become the only one with the authority to lead. The bleeding lamb simply walks up to the throne and grasps the scroll. Instantly, the paralyzing tension holding the universe hostage snaps. The reaction is explosive. The terrifying 4 creatures and the 24 elders completely abandon their postures, collapsing in worship before the slain victim. The elders raise golden bowls filled with thick, glowing incense. These bowls contain the collected, unanswered prayers of humanity, finally brought before the one who can act on them. Then millions upon millions of angels shatter the silence with a roaring anthem. They declare that only the slain lamb is worthy to receive all wealth, wisdom, and power. Amidst the deafening praise, the lamb readies the scroll. It prepares to initiate a sequence that will systematically unravel the world as we know it. The locked future is finally moving forward, and its unfolding is commanded exclusively by the one who died for it. The lamb reaches for the wax and breaks the first seal with a deafening crack. Subscribe to stay with us as the first. Buried within the text of this ancient manuscript lies a precise, stage-by-stage blueprint for the end of the world. The 5th chapter of Revelation describes a scroll containing the final destiny of humanity. It is written on the front and back and sealed with 7 seals. At first, a massive problem presents itself. No one in heaven, on earth, or under the earth is found worthy to break those seals and look inside. Then, a catalyst steps forward. The text describes him as the Lion of the tribe of Judah, but he appears as a lamb that looks like it has been killed. This figure possesses the unique authority required to break the locks. As the lamb breaks the very first seal, one of the 4 living creatures around the throne issues a thunderous command, "Come." That single word engages the mechanism of the apocalypse. Once the wax breaks, The earth is locked into a cascading chain of escalating divine judgments that cannot be reversed. The first seal releases a white horse. Its rider carries a bow, is handed a crown, and rides out specifically to conquer, representing aggressive, expansionist warfare. The second seal breaks, and a fiery red horse emerges. Its rider is granted permission to strip peace from the earth. He is given a huge sword, ensuring people will brutally butcher one another in global conflict. With the third seal, a black horse appears. The rider holds a balance scale in hand. The weapon here is not a sword, but severe economic collapse. This chart shows the extreme hyperinflation described in the text. The daily wage of a worker is required just to buy a single measure of wheat or 3 measures of barley, basic survival goods. Yet luxury items like oil and wine remain untouched by the inflation. Then comes the fourth seal. A pale green horse steps forward. Its rider has a specific name, Death, and Hades follows right behind him. This visualization shows the terrifying math of the fourth seal. Death and Hades are given explicit authority over a full fourth of the earth. Exactly 25% of the global population is wiped off the board through a combination of the sword, famine, disease, and wild animals. In 4 swift movements, these riders dismantle every structure humans rely on for survival. Borders fall to the white horse, peace falls to the red, the economy falls to the black, and survival to the pale green. The fifth seal drastically slows the pace, shifting our view from earthly chaos to a spiritual reality. Under the heavenly altar sit the souls of those who had been violently killed because of their testimony. These martyrs cry out with a central question: how long, Sovereign Master, holy and true, before you judge those who live on the earth and avenge our blood? They are handed long white robes and told to wait until the full number of their fellow servants are killed. When the sixth seal breaks, the destruction shifts from the surface of the earth to the structure of the cosmos itself. A massive earthquake shakes the foundations of reality. The astronomical cataclysms begin. The sun turns as black as sackcloth. The full moon becomes blood red, and the stars in the sky literally fall to the earth, dropping like unripe figs shaken by a fierce wind. The atmosphere unmakes itself. The sky is split apart like a scroll being rolled up, and every mountain and island is moved from its place. This cosmic collapse levels all human hierarchy. Kings, high-ranking generals, the rich, the powerful, and slaves all hide together in the caves and among the rocks. They realize the great day of wrath has arrived, forcing a final, terrifying question: who is able to withstand it? Just as total annihilation seems imminent, there is a sudden, eerie pause. 4 angels stand at the 4 corners of the earth, physically holding back the 4 winds, so nothing can blow on the land or sea. This pause answers humanity's question of survival. God deliberately halts the destruction with a specific command: do not damage the earth, the sea, or the trees until we have put a seal on the foreheads of the servants of our God. This grid breaks down the mathematical precision of this preservation. There are exactly 144,000 units sealed, divided perfectly into 12 equal blocks representing the tribes of the people of Israel. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifts. The darkness and ruin are replaced by a massive, uncountable crowd made up of people from every nation, tribe, people, and language, holding palm branches. The text explicitly identifies this crowd. These are the ones who have come out of the Great Tribulation. They survived because they washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. The breaking of the seals was a targeted purging of a corrupt world, executing judgment while carefully preserving a faithful, victorious remnant. But the opening of the seals is only the beginning of the sequence. The breaking of the 7th seal initiates an even louder phase of judgment, the 7 Trumpets. Subscribe to the channel so you're prepared for what sounds next. For exactly half an hour, the grand golden throne room of heaven suddenly falls completely and totally dead silent. The quiet shatters when an angel takes a golden censer, fills it with fire from the altar, and hurls it down to earth, detonating the atmosphere with crashes of thunder, lightning, and a massive earthquake. Through the smoke, 7 angels step forward. They are handed 7 trumpets and prepare to blow them. That half hour of total silence was the world's final moment of stillness. When the fire-filled censer hits the ground, it signals that the time for restraint is over, and the methodical dismantling of the earth has begun. This chart shows the geography of the collapse. When the first trumpet sounds, hail and fire mixed with blood rain down, burning up a third of the earth's trees and all the green grass. Then the second trumpet sounds, plunging a burning mountain into the ocean. Exactly 1/3 of the salt water turns to blood, killing a third of all marine life and destroying a third of the ships. The third trumpet targets the freshwater supply. A burning star called wormwood crashes into the rivers and springs. A third of the planet's drinking water turns toxic, poisoning the people who drink from it. With the fourth trumpet, the collapse moves to the sky. A third of the sun, the moon, and the stars go dark, reducing the planet's light by 33%. In the sudden, terrifying gloom, a solitary eagle flies directly overhead, shouting a dark warning to the terrified survivors. Woe, woe, woe to those who live on the earth because of the remaining sounds of the trumpets. The eagle's warning pivots the trajectory of the apocalypse. The first 4 trumpets executed a highly measured reduction of the physical environment. But now that physical loss is over, and the horror shifts into the supernatural. The 5th angel sounds his trumpet, and a fallen star takes a key and unlocks the shaft of the abyss. A column of smoke like a giant furnace pours out, completely blotting out the sun. Out of that smoke crawls a swarm of biomechanical locusts. They are the size of battle horses, wearing gold crowns and iron breastplates. They have human faces with women's hair and lion's teeth, and the sound of their wings resembles charging chariots. Their orders are highly specific. They are forbidden to eat the grass or trees. They are deployed solely to target humans who do not have the seal of God on their foreheads. They cannot kill them. They can only inflict agonizing, paralyzing pain with scorpion-like tails for exactly 5 months. People will seek death, and death will flee from them. This shift from environmental loss to inescapable, localized physical and psychological torture classifies this judgment as a woe. The 6th angel sounds his trumpet, and 4 bound angels are released at the great river Euphrates, anchoring the invasion to a physical geographic choke point. They lead a cavalry force numbering 200 million. The riders wear breastplates of fiery red, dark blue, and sulfurous yellow. Their horses have the heads of lions, breathing fire, smoke, and sulfur that instantly wipe out an additional third of humanity. Despite witnessing 200 million demonic riders massacre their neighbors, the surviving humans refuse to repent. They continue to worship idols of gold and silver, clinging tightly to their murders, their magic spells, their sexual immorality, and their theft. Despite an army of 200 million erasing a third of the population, the human rebellion doesn't flinch. This refusal to yield to even a global extinction event locks the world into a permanent stalemate. In the ruined streets, 2 witnesses dressed in sackcloth make a final stand. For 1,260 days, they possess absolute authority to shut the sky to stop the rain, breathe fire to consume their enemies, and strike the earth with plagues. The stalemate breaks when the beast from the abyss overpowers and kills them. For 3.5 days, their corpses are left in the street of the great city. The world celebrates the death of the prophets who tormented them, even sending gifts to each other in a grotesque global party. Then a breath of life from God enters the bodies. The witnesses snap upright to their feet, striking terror into the onlookers. A voice from heaven calls out, "Come up here," and they ascend in a cloud while their enemies watch. Immediately, a massive earthquake collapses a tenth of the city. The global celebration ends in a single breath. By rising back to life, these figures demonstrate that even the combined weight of human and demonic violence is incapable of keeping their message in the grave. Finally, the 7th angel blows his trumpet. Loud voices in heaven declare, "The kingdom of the world has become the kingdom of our Lord and of his Christ." By systematically dismantling the environment and breaking the demonic realm, the trumpet judgments have cleared the stage for final divine rule. Heaven declares victory, but down on earth, the beast is still rising from the sea. To see how this final confrontation plays centuries before the term totalitarianism entered our political lexicon, ancient apocalyptic texts were already drafting the blueprints for a global dictatorship. This vision of an inescapable regime serves as the climax of some of history's oldest prophecies. These golden dragons and composite beasts, stamped into the blue bricks of Babylon's Ishtar Gate, show how ancient empires used monstrous imagery to project state power. For the ancients, the beast was a physical symbol of a government that claimed total authority over its subjects. The Book of Revelation situates this earthly power within a cosmic origin story. It describes a woman clothed with the sun, struggling to give birth, while a seven-headed dragon waits to devour her child. In this narrative, the child escapes, leaving the dragon to face a secondary conflict. A war erupts in the heavenly realm. The Archangel Michael leads a force that defeats the dragon, resulting in the entity being cast out and plummeting toward the earth. Exiled and realizing its time is limited, the dragon changes its strategy. Unable to strike at the divine directly, it stands on the seashore to summon an earthly mechanism that can secure humanity's worship by proxy. This vision frames the final earthly empire as the direct effort of a defeated cosmic entity. In this architecture, the state is not merely a human organization, but a tool used to wage a continued war on humanity through political means. The text identifies the specific identity of this mark as a number, 666. The vision identifies this as man's number. In this context, the number represents the pinnacle of human organization, a system that has perfected its own internal logic to the point of total defiance against anything outside itself. This diagram assembles the beast's empire, a base of economic lockdown, a middle tier of ideological propaganda, and an apex of cosmic malice. By integrating political force with economic survival, the system leaves no room for dissent. This ancient warning poses a question regarding the nature of allegiance. It asks what portions of a person's conscience are surrendered when survival is tied to the demands of the state. To explore more deep dives into historical and prophetic blueprints, subscribe and join us for our next investigation. The heavenly temple fills with thick smoke from the glory of God. This signals a finality. Time for intercession has officially ended. 7 majestic angels emerge, carrying golden bowls. These do not contain plagues meant to lead to repentance. Instead, they contain the wrath of God. Humanity is now entrenched in the beast's system. They have chosen a life of idolatry and bloodshed, leaving no room for a change of heart. A loud, commanding voice echoes from the temple. It orders the 7 angels to pour their bowls onto the earth. The command sets the first bowl in motion. This starts a sequence of divine justice against the empire. The first bowl targets the dry land. Painful, ugly sores break out on those who have taken the mark of the beast. Next, the ecological systems begin to fail. The second and third bowls turn the saltwater seas and freshwater rivers into blood. The fourth bowl causes the sun to flare, scorching humanity with intense heat. In response, they curse God rather than turn from their ways. The fifth bowl plunges the beast's throne and kingdom into darkness, causing those within it to bite their tongues in pain. With its natural and societal defenses dismantled, the empire is forced into total desperation. The sixth bowl is poured, drying the Euphrates River. This removes a massive geographic barrier, opening a dry path for the kings from the east. 3 demonic, frog-like spirits use this opening. They go out to deceive the kings of the earth, luring them into a final assembly. The world's armies are being funneled toward a single location, Armageddon. The focus shifts to the final target of this wrath, Babylon the Great, the mother of prostitutes. She is defined by her wealth, draped in purple and scarlet, and adorned with gold and pearls. In her hand she holds a golden cup. As the 7th bowl is poured, a voice cries, "It is done." An earthquake follows, one unparalleled in human history. The city is split into 3 parts. From the sky, 100-pound hailstones drop to crush the remaining structures. The epicenter of global corruption is shattered by this seventh bowl. When the smoke clears, the city is a burning, desolate haunt. Standing at a distance are the kings, sea captains, and merchants of the world. This diagram shows global trade routes converging on a single hub. The merchants are not weeping out of guilt. They are mourning because the supply chain for gold, silk, and human lives has been severed. Systemic power and vast wealth were evaporated in a single hour. A powerful angel performs one final act. He picks up a stone resembling a massive millstone. The millstone is hurled into the sea to show that Babylon will never be found or rebuilt again. No global system is immune to divine justice. When the breaking point is reached, the collapse is absolute. The text of Revelation describes a universe held in a chokehold by a complex, interconnected network of corruption. It identifies a beast ruling political life, a false prophet manipulating religious thought, and an ancient dragon orchestrating the entire system. This rot is not a surface-level malfunction. It's built into the infrastructure of the cosmos. In John's vision, a system this deeply infected cannot be reformed or negotiated with. To make room for a peace that actually lasts, the existing world must be completely overthrown. Before a new reality can begin, the old one must be unmade. The climax begins in chapter 19, when the sky splits open to reveal a rider on a white horse. This figure isn't wearing a single crown, but many diadems, the symbols of highest ruling authority. Named Faithful and True, this rider does not arrive as a mediator. He comes to end the cosmic rebellion through uncompromising justice. But how does a universe defined by millennia of conflict, pain, and death actually transition into an eternity of quiet? The narrative's answer is a total cosmic demolition. To reach that peace, every pillar of the old order, political, religious, and spiritual, must be systematically identified and dismantled. The unmaking process begins with the destruction of the earthly systems of oppression. The beast and the false prophet, the potent symbols of corrupted state and religious power, are the first to be seized. They are not merely imprisoned, they are cast directly into the lake of fire, a symbol of permanent, irreversible ending. This chart tracks the dismantling of 3 tiers of evil. With political and religious levels removed, focus shifts to the spiritual source, the dragon. His containment happens in stages: a 1,000-year binding in the abyss, a brief release, and finally, total destruction. With primary sources of corruption gone, the universe is finally cleared for a direct, unhindered reckoning. John then sees a great white throne. The throne is so vast and its occupant so brilliant that it dominates the entire field of view. The reaction of the cosmos is one of physical recoil. The old heaven and earth fled from his presence. They don't just move, they vanish, leaving no place for them to exist. In this vast void, the records of history are opened. Humanity faces a final reckoning as their names are checked against the book of life. The purge then turns toward the very mechanics of suffering. Death and Hades, the containers of mortality, are themselves thrown into the lake of fire. By destroying the concept of mortality itself, the unmaking of the old painful universe is finished. The void is ready for something new. Out of the silence, a new reality materializes. John describes seeing a new heaven and a new earth, a creation that has never known the touch of the previous corruption. Into this pristine space, the new Jerusalem descends, coming down out of heaven as a finished work of God. This diagram shows the city's unique architectural logic. It is a perfect cube, roughly 1,400 miles in every direction, featuring 12 gates of pearl and foundations of precious jasper. This symmetry isn't just an aesthetic choice. It signals a reality built on unshakable mathematical perfection, a city where every dimension is exactly as it was intended to be. This reveals the ultimate reversal of the story. In Revelation, humanity does not float up to a distant heaven. Instead, God comes down to live permanently among human beings. In this city, the old needs are gone. There is no temple because God is present. There is no need for a sun or moon because his direct glory provides all the light the city requires. At the center of the city, John sees a river of the water of life, as clear as crystal, and the tree of life, which was lost at the beginning of human history. The leaves of this tree are for the healing of the nations. Their presence signals a final end to the ancient curse that defined the old world. Revelation concludes not with an ending, but with a restoration. It is the story of a world finally cured of its history, resulting in a union where every tear is wiped away and death exists no more.